it's Don Skaggs again with Empowered Inventing, where we try to help you help other people by taking your great innovation, the right opportunity, mixing that with sound wisdom so you can turn them into real things like products and businesses that make money. Now today I've got a question for you, and that is, how does your invention, your product, your startup or your business measure up? I think I've got this upside down. How does it measure up? So you may not even be able to see the numbers from here. I don't know. But anyway, I've got a tape measure here, and when you're measuring things, the rule in carpentry is what? Measure twice, cut once. But a lot of times we just don't apply that to inventing and entrepreneurship. I've got another little ruler here that's kind of cool. This is actually a sample from a company that makes, I think, circuit boards. And so it's like a circuit board, but it's a ruler. Tough stuff too. It's really cool. So anyway, it's got all your little things here. So neat little marketing tool. Plus it's a ruler. So anyway, but my question is, how does your product or your startup measure up? Now, first off, maybe the more important question is, how are you measuring your invention? How are you measuring your startup? How are you measuring your business? Well, there's two ways you can measure the worth of something. You can measure it, let's say that you've never seen a ruler before, and you don't know where the markings are. Or the markings are in a different language. I know, but numbers are a universal language. But you just pretend for a moment that you don't know what those numbers mean. And so you're not measuring by any kind of reference standard. You're just making wild guesses. And you see a lot of times, now this is especially true in the startup world, where you're looking at your company valuation, maybe you're trying to raise some capital, and the valuations are all just kind of nebulous. Now, I know there's some people that try to put some hard and fast rules, but when it comes down to brass tacks and you're doing negotiations, usually one side has their standards of measure that make you look like this, and then you have the standards of measures that make you look like this. So this is why they're just so nebulous, and you can't do accurate math if some of those numbers are made up. And that can be a problem. That can be a real problem. So you can also, and this is another thing, and this is probably the bigger thing, especially for inventors out there, or if you're developing a new product, you can't measure your product or your startup by yourself in a bubble. And I know you've heard me talk about bubbles a lot. Don't get trapped in your own bubble. And there's a lot of bad things that'll happen when you get trapped in your own bubble. So, because number one, you'll end up giving your product a giant ego. This is great. This will be the best thing since sliced bread. I just know everybody's going to want one. You'd be amazed at how many of the really smart inventors out there will talk to me or talk to other people, and they'll say, everybody's going to want one of these. Everybody. And you'll see that. You'll believe that. I mean, they honestly believe that when they say it. But when you go out and hit what's really there, hit that reality of what's out there in the marketplace, you'll find it's a different story. Some people are not going to want your product, and that's okay. You just got to find the ones that do and make sure that there's enough of those types of people out there. So don't give your product a giant ego. And now on balance, don't compare yourself. And this is kind of the opposite of, because I'll see two different things. I'll see inventors and entrepreneurs out there, and they'll have no unit of measurement, no way to measure, no way to get out there. They don't get out there and they don't measure it by other real true forces in the marketplace. And they have this overblown idea of the value of their product, or they just don't know and they're making wild guesses. Either way, it's bad. And then there's this other end, this other side, we're inventors and entrepreneurs, and I see this a lot with entrepreneurs, where you're just, you're chugging at it, you're just going really hard, and you're starting to compare your success or lack of success a lot of times to somebody else's. And usually you're looking at their LinkedIn profile, or you look at their social media, and you're saying, oh wow, look, that person went on vacation, and look at that tropical beach. Oh wow, look, well, they've just got it made. Well, you're just looking at their highlight reel. Nobody's going to post stuff on the internet that talks about their failures. Rarely. Now, some people do, and that's a good thing, as long as they treat it in the right perspective. That's a whole other story for another time. But you're only looking at their highlight reel when you're looking at other people's stuff. You're only seeing their success. Nobody wants to talk about those days they got up where they just felt like they could not go one more day. And most all, if not all, successful inventors have had those days. And you ones that are out there that have seen some measure of success, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those of you who have not yet, that have got up and felt like that, keep in mind that other people that have been successful have had to trudge through days like that. But they trudged through it and they didn't give up. And that's the difference between usually the successes and the failures. So don't compare your success to where somebody else is if they're further along, or if they've had more measure of success, or anything like that. What you've done, what you will do, what you plan, what you execute is really what you want to measure things by. You don't, and I'll have some other videos about this, and we've got classes about this sort of thing, but courses about this. So I'm supposed to call them courses and not classes now. The trick is to measure against the good and the bad of the real world, and just take what you have and measure what you are doing. So in other words, you're accountable to yourself, you're accountable to other people, and you're actually measuring, okay, I did this week. This month I'm doing this. And then you go back and say, yes, I did this. I did this, I did this, I am making progress. Am I where I want to be yet? No, but I am making progress because I planned it, I did it on purpose. And that's where the diligence comes in that you hear me talk about so many times. So, bottom line, don't measure yourself by flawed standards. Don't measure your product by flawed standards. Because if you're just going by what you just see out there in the world, by comparing yourself, or if you compare yourself to yourself in a bubble as far as your product's concerned, you can get in trouble. If you live in a fish bowl, you're going to be the biggest fish. And you're going to say, hey, look, I'm doing great. Until you get out in the ocean and find out it's a different story. So keep that in mind. An outside ruler with missing numbers is not going to give you the full story. So have some good metrics and measure things correctly. And on both ends, both extremes. And both with your product and with your own successes. Now, if you're looking for more information on this, I do have a course called Do I Have the Next $1 Million Idea? It's on empoweredinventing.com. Check it out. Check out our videos and all our other resources we have there. And I will look to see you at the next meeting, workshop, maybe one of our online courses, or on the next video.